let's talk more about removing those blocks between business and technology, and sort of let's look at some case studies. And you've got a really interesting conversation with Telia.
That's right. That's what we're going to move on to now, to actually look at, again, quite a traditional company that's going through a massive transformation, and it's taking leadership from the top to do that.
Okay, we'll leave you to it. That's coming up in just a moment.
Now, transformation projects come in all shapes and sizes, and as we've already heard today, it's a continuous journey of transformation for many in the industry. This next session looks at a transformation that's one of the most ambitious we've seen in the industry to date. And for that, I'm delighted to welcome Alison Kirkby, CEO of Telia, and Rainer Deutschmann, Group COO at Telia, to share with us their thoughts today. Alison and Rainer, welcome to Digital Transformation World Series. And Alison, I'm going to dive straight in by asking you to share your vision for Telia and how you see that panning out over the years ahead.
Yeah, my vision on joining Telia just over 16 months ago was to return it to sustainable growth and to get it to become one of the most digitalized communications providers in the world, operating in one of the most digitalized societies in the world. So we launched a purpose to reinvent better connected living so that we could reinvent a better Telia. We've always had a great ambition to return Telia to growth, but for whatever reason, we have, my predecessors failed. And so what we set out to do was to do a transformation that was for the first time customer experience led, and for the first time was not going to be just a short-term fix, but something that would fix us structurally and sustainably so that we could become a proper digital communications provider to the whole of the Nordics and the Baltics. And our strategy is built on 4 pillars. It starts with our customer. It's about inspiring our customers beyond connectivity. Secondly, it's about connecting everyone to the most trusted, reliable networks in the region. But those 2 things are only possible as a result of the 3rd pillar, which is transforming to digital, so we can become leaner, more agile, more data-based. And finally, it's about delivering sustainably, something that Telia and actually a lot of the sector has failed to do over many years. It's been a bit of crash and burn. And so the transformation program is really built to deliver all of those, inspiring customers through convergence. We believe in this world of rapid digitalization as a result of the range of services we have, whether it be content in the home or ICT and security services to enterprises. We can become that digital one-stop shop to all of our customers and be the national champion of connectivity, but also the national champion of great entertainment. Secondly, on the connecting everyone to the most trusted, reliable networks, we are, modernizing, rolling out 5G, increasing our fiber footprint, but we're also looking at how do we bring in partners such as Brookfield, who own and operate the biggest footprint of towers across the world, to bring new competencies to Telia. And then the transforming to digital and delivering sustainably is really the key enablers for us to do both of those and ultimately better serve our customers, societies, and ultimately our shareholders going forward. So that's the vision, to reinvent a better Telia so we can reinvent a better region for the Nordics and the Baltics to continue to thrive.
So that's a very purpose-driven vision coming from you there, Alison. And I think that focus on the customer is really important. It's something we've all been reminded of in the last 18 months, just how important the customer's needs are, but also understanding the inequalities that exist for those customers today. When we think about the key performance indicators for you as you think about going beyond connectivity and perhaps thinking beyond the obvious financial ones, what are some of the KPIs at the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's about having the most secure and trusted networks. We have built that hallmark of quality, particularly in Sweden and the Baltics, and we're only rebuilding it in Norway and Finland and Denmark on the back of 5G at the moment. So that trusted, secure networks is increasingly important to governments, to municipalities, and to the larger enterprises. They want to work with us because they trust us. And because we work with some of the most demanding customers, delivering some of the most secure services you can imagine, that is something that we're really building on in this transformation as we modernize our networks. But we also have a responsibility to ensure that we drive digital inclusion. And so for a number of years, we've been working with the elderly, and we had to accelerate this at the start of COVID, where we have this program called Mer Digital, where we're actually helping the elderly engage with digital tools and services so that they can live their lives even when they were at home. Because we have some of the biggest national broadcasters across our footprint, we educate, we inform through those channels as well. And then just as we're doing digital inclusion for those that need to learn some of the new digital tools as individuals, we're also doing the same for the SME segment. And actually teaching, some of the smaller SOHOs and SMEs how to use our services and how to bundle our services in a way that help them more efficient and reach more customers. And that's a program we've been running here in Sweden. And then finally, we all have responsibility to keep children safe when they're online. And so we do this digital passport where children go through like a driving license program to help them understand how to stay safe online. So that's some of the inclusive aspects that we're doing. But, owning and operating the biggest footprint of critical national infrastructure and having the strategic partnerships we have with Ericsson and Nokia, we're also looking at what can we do as we upgrade our networks to make our networks more energy efficient. And that's something that we'll increasingly have to focus on in the coming years as we commit to our climate goals as well.
Now, Raina, let me come to you. You also joined Telia quite recently, and you've taken up the role of Chief Operating Officer, coming from a rich experience in the industry across many different transformation programs. What are the key foundations from your point of view? Because you're marrying both the business transformation and the technology transformation. What are the right foundations that you're focused on to be fit for the future?
Right. First of all, great to be here, Nick. Thanks for inviting us. It's a pleasure. So I think we have taken, and it's been 12 months exactly today for me, we have taken two quite very big bets. One is we have said as a company, we got to be making sure that we are focusing exclusively really on our customers and our markets, and we do everything to make sure our markets are successful with whatever they need for the enterprise and for the consumer segment. At the same time, we said, however, we can only really be successful in our transformation towards a much more leaner and digital and agile company if we leverage what I call 5 Ps around, leverage our products, leverage our processes, leverage our platforms, have the best globally partners, and also have the people really that scale the competencies across the group. So rather than reinventing this so many times, we are doing it really, really in a much more harmonized way. So that bet has actually led to a new, what we call Telia way of working, where we have the market and customer focus on the one side, but we are delivering those 5 Ps across the company in a much more harmonized way. So that was, I think, the first bet. And I think here we are a quite distinct setup as compared to some of the other operators that you and I know, and we have seen much more towards like what a Google and one of these hyperscalers would look like, with a common production and a common product and technology core. The second big bet, and Alison started to allude on it, is the transformation that we have launched. We have communicated our targets earlier this year in January to the capital markets, and we have really set out to say this is not something that is a quick fix. We have said we are going to be fundamentally and structurally changing the company in a way like probably you and I, we haven't seen anywhere else before. It's a very fundamental transformation. It encompasses all our markets. It encompasses all our functions. It is customer-led, starting with the requirements that we see from our markets, but delivering across these 4 pillars that Alison was alluding to into our organization. And if you look at the transformation program as kind of a, I would say, matrix where you have the markets and where you have the transformational topics, there are things like product simplification. There are things like process harmonization. There are things like a substantial upliftment in the analytics capabilities towards a data-driven decisioning company. And there's a very fundamental upliftment of our service assurance backbone to provide the service orchestration experience that is really one of our USPs. And last but not least, a very substantial digital IT transformation, which again, we are very closely working with the TM Forum and many of your colleagues to say, we got to be using standards. We got to be using modular components where we can be much faster in terms of our time to market, where we leverage the best-in-class software processes, and where we also go away from a huge number of customizations we have seen in the past in a much more what I call configuration world, where I have a common core and I configure in our markets for our customers to the extent needed. So that's in a nutshell the 2 big bets. The Telia way of working on the one side, market-facing with the 5 Ps across the company, and a substantial transformation program cutting across the entire organization, making sure that we deliver what we promise.
And by leveraging these 5 Ps, Nick, we're really ensuring that we will be worth more than the sum of the parts going forward. Because Telia previously was a very decentralized organization doing their own procurement, designing their own products. But by bringing the thought leadership of Rainer and his team, we're really starting to leverage scale and skill for the whole group to benefit from going forward and ultimately our customers.
Now, Alison and Rainer, we've all seen transformation projects that have gone well and some that have gone less so well out there in the industry. This is really tough to do, and I think something that our audience will be really interested in is the point you make there of being so honest and open with your shareholders and with the market about the scale and depth of the transformation that has to happen. And that brings me on to one of the most complex aspects of transformation, which in the TM Forum we call the human factor, the people parts of transformation. How have you gone about motivating an existing workforce to really want to be part of that transformation, to really own it and carry it forward? And what does that look like in terms of changing ways of working?
Now, why don't I start, Rainer, and then you can build? I think we first of all started out with it's purpose-driven. This is it's not just about transformation. It's about reinventing a better Telia so we can create better connected lives for our customers. And the fact that it was customer experience led, we immediately started to generate the emotion and the passion in the organization that this was about creating a Telia that they would all be proud to work for again. We're also really building the values that were launched a few years ago into the program. The values that were launched when Telia moved away from Eurasia, and we wanted the culture to embrace 3 simple values of dare, care, and simplify. And that's very much embedded into the program as well. Ambitious goals, but very much focused on caring for our customers and society and radically simplifying everything we do. So hearts and minds have been won over through the purpose and the values. And then it's about really cascading the vision through the organization and the transformation program allowing us to deeply embed the program into a number of change agents throughout the organization that are now delivering on the new ways of working that Rainer is progressing. Yeah. And maybe you want to build.
So just to build on this is exactly, so once we are clear on the purpose, we are clear on the targets, now it's about engagement and scale. And I think this is probably one of the distinct features of the program, this is completely integrated into the entire operation, into the entire company, up to the governance that we have set up. So you cannot run such a transformation on the side. It is led by the GEM, by the Group Executive Management. We are sponsors for the key transformation themes that we have set out, and I explained briefly. And we have scaled now the entire program from the goals to strategic themes into quite a number of initiatives that are detailed out, that are staffed by name, by leader, that have an objective and a key result. And all of these initiatives are now being driven by our people. These are thousands of people that are engaged on a daily basis now in those transformative initiatives, on top of course, what we run in our normal operations, in the daily operations. And this is one important other factor, is we have now created a full visibility on the entire program across the company into what I call a cockpit, which allows us to spot early indicators of deviations and to go in and help rectify those deviations quickly, so that we never fall the trap in saying we discovered something too late. We want to be early. We want to really be having this execution muscle, which needs to have an early warning system. And that cockpit now we have created again. And this is also, by the way, how we are now looking at the transformation program. There is nothing on PowerPoint. There's nothing on Excel. We bring up the Jira dashboard that Alison loves so much, and every one of us now, because it gives from the top level, even our board of directors, to the group executive management, to all our leaders, into the entire team, an end-to-end visibility. There is no other truth than the actual truth on the ground. And I think this makes it exciting, and this makes it also sustainable for the next years to come.
Now, that's a great level of transparency you're describing, and it's great to hear that it's so open, and that's part of the motivation for the team. But I'm sure it's also been a bumpy ride, and there's been periods where you're both learning and unlearning as you go all the way along through that. I'd like to ask you now, where does it take you next in terms of the skills, and how does this transformation project compare to previous transformation project in terms of what skills you need to bring to the table?
Well, I guess the unique difference in this transformation program is we both started in the last 16 months, and we actually haven't met our whole team yet, because we've been working virtually. So we've had to do this in a virtual way using all of these great digital tools. And that's probably been the trickiest bit, because it's trying to understand when you're not with the people in the town halls, in the bistros, at the coffee machine. Are you really taking the people with you? So we've had to learn new engagement skills to be really keeping the organization up to speed and encouraging feedback. So Rainer hosts a regular Ask Me Anything 60 minutes where he's bombarded by questions. So that bit has been the trickiest bit. I think the other bit that I personally find tricky, having been at more challenger types of telcos in the past, is, to move an incumbent like Telia takes time. And when it's been such a complex organization operating in a very siloed way, that is slowing us down. So the redesign of the ways of working and getting the operating model working is also been critical, and that's still being worked through, to be honest. But I think working in a COVID world and that lack of speed that we're used to in challenger environments has been the most challenging for me. But we're looking forward to getting everybody back in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Rainer.
To add, so I think if I turn it the other way around, what are the things that actually work well? I think there's a couple of elements, and one of them we didn't mention. I think it's quite important to see that we are not doing this just by ourselves. We are really looking at strong partners, and this is one of the simplifications also that we have done. We had too many, honestly, not really partners, but more suppliers, and we have refocused dramatically across all our domains, whether it's the analytics, whether it's the service assurance, whether it's the IT, whether it's even the skills transformation on core partners such as ServiceNow, such as Pluralsight, such as AWS, such as Accenture and Capgemini. So there are a handful of strong partners that we are working with very closely, because we can't do this by ourselves. On the other side, we have embarked into a massive even insourcing, where we say we gotta be a software company. We gotta change the way of having the brains of the company in the hands of other people. We gotta have the core competence around the software, around the analytics, around the user experience design in our operation, in our people. So this is the second big thing. So bring back the brains, and that's also part of why we are here. We want to show how exciting it is to work in a telco. Sometimes the branding that we as telcos have isn't so great. This is an amazing place to really drive change, and we are pushing the boundaries on the way. How I described this integration, being more like a Google, being more like an AWS across all our markets. We are pushing the boundary. We are working very closely with our partners to have that kind of scalability across markets where we are catering for the market differences. However, we don't customize everything to an extent that it becomes a spaghetti, as you were mentioning in the beginning. So we are pushing the boundaries on all the dimensions, whether it's analytics, whether it's user experience design, whether it's the softwareization of our not only IT, but all the way down to the networks. So we're really, really scaling up those elements. And so it's an exciting place to be, I can tell, the last 12 months, and I'm sure the next 12 months will be even more exciting.
Absolutely. And I think this aggregation point is key. You know, for telcos to win in the future, we need to become better partners to our customers and better partners to the key players in the ecosystem so that we can aggregate all of the digital services all of our customers need to reinvent their lives. So super exciting. And as you can see, he's very complimentary to me. We're a great team. And yes, we are looking forward to delivering on our commitments and really showing the world what a great part of what a great region the Nordics and the Baltics is for digitalization, and maybe teach a few other telcos how to really transform.
Well, that's a great vision, Alison, and also really refreshing to see that level of transparency and honesty about what it takes to transform. We're certainly pleased to be part of sharing that with the industry and be on this journey with you. And it's also great to see the chemistry you're building up there between yourselves and your team, even during times when you haven't been able to get together in person, as you've said. Now, we're proud in TM Forum to be working with Telia on this transformation journey and to be supporting that journey with you. And in the spirit of transparency, just like you've described, I'm keen to hear from you your expectations of TM Forum and what your expectations of industry collaboration look like. I think we all believe that industry collaboration is going to be vital over the next 3 years. So what would be your priorities for TM Forum and the broader industry when it comes to collaborating?
I think the collaboration needs to happen on the talent agenda. It also needs to happen on how we work together to ensure the regulation is supporting our development. And collaboration needs to happen on how we start to create the new products and services and partner in the ecosystem that is the digital ecosystem that we work in now. So I think it's people, it's regulation, and it's partnership is where I would definitely recommend we should collaborate more.
Yeah, and to add, to complement, I think that list is clearly also, we got to be driving standards. We got to be driving standards. We got to be driving modularity, which we can use in order to scale better and which allows us to then configure. That's to my earlier point of rather we need to have configuration in our markets to cater to the variances, but we cannot do this by a customization all across. So I think what we appreciate in the work with the TM Forum is that we are seeing now a movement which really drives the standardization that we have seen from the network side very much globally. That's why we have the global 5G networks now on the same mobile phone. I can roam around the world. We've got to be driving that same standardization, the same modularization into our BSS, the business support systems, the OSS, and the rest of the stack, so to speak, so that we can also more freely, from an operator perspective, more freely then choose the best partners, because I can much more than really go and run what we call a plug and play than every time to run a significant integration project. So I really appreciate the collaboration with the TM Forum. We got to be getting our act together to really go after standards so that we have a platform for innovation on top of those standards.
Well, we appreciate it too, Alison and Rainer, and particularly the bold leadership coming from Telia today. Thank you so much for joining us on this session. I hope by the time we next come together, it can be in person. But for now, thank you so much.